In Flowster, you can easily manage all of your recurring business processes to assign work and delegate work to virtually anyone. And in this video, I want to give you an introduction to some of the basic features and functionality of the Flowster software. Now, before we get into talking about templates and processes and assigning and so forth, one of the things that I want to do to start off with is make you aware of our template marketplace. The reason that we created the template marketplace is that we realized very early on that while everyone wants to have standard operating procedures so that they can easily onboard new employees and delegate work to their team, very few people want to create standard operating procedures from scratch all by themselves. And the Flowster marketplace is here to solve that problem. At the time of this recording, there are hundreds and hundreds of different process templates in the marketplace, most of them created by Flowster and some of them created by third parties that you can add to your Flowster account. To find processes that would be valuable to you, simply either search in the search box, just like you would on Amazon. So if you were looking for something for Facebook, for example, you could type in Facebook and you would have a selection there to choose from. Or if you would prefer to browse by category, you can use the category tree over here on the left. So let's say, for example, that you are responsible for lead generation in your organization. Choose the lead generation category, and you will see all sorts of templates that you can add into your account. So suppose that you decide you would like to have the Facebook and Instagram organic lead generation process. Simply click on Get It for Free, View Cart, Checkout, and it will appear in your process library. To find it, if you already have a lot of processes in your library and you can't find the one you're looking for, simply type in whatever keyword you would like and it will appear. So in this case, Facebook and Instagram lead generation. So now that I've given you a quick overview of the marketplace, I want to talk about something that's really important to understand in Flowster, and that is the concept of templates versus workflows. So what you're looking at right here is the Facebook and Instagram lead generation template. So when you click on it, you are given the opportunity to either run a workflow or edit the template. So what is the difference between a template and a workflow? A template is the master copy of the checklist for a given process. And for a given process, you would only ever need one template. So in this case here, we're looking at template view for the process for Facebook and Instagram lead generation. And you can see that there are 6 steps. In template mode, you have the ability to add content, change content, do any types of customizing that you will like, and we'll cover that in more detail in a later portion of this video or in the next video. For now, I simply want you to understand the difference between templates and workflows. So at this point in time, you're satisfied with the structure of the template and you want to actually get work done. You either want to do it yourself, or better yet, you want to assign it to somebody on your team. So while you're in template view, you can click on this button here, New Workflow, and you'll be asked to assign it to somebody. In this case, we'll choose the assignee to be Smog the Dragon. We'll tell Smog that this has to be due on the 13th. And we'll give this a name. You can name it whatever you would like. In this case, I'm just going to call it Demo, Facebook and Instagram lead generation, create workflow. So now we're in workflow mode. Now, remember how I said you generally are only going to have one template for a given process. Workflows, on the other hand, you could have many workflows based upon a given template that are running at any point in time. So if you're a marketing agency, for example, and you had 10 clients and you were doing Facebook and Instagram lead generation for 10 clients simultaneously, well, this is one workflow for one client. And then you would actually go back and say, well, I need a second workflow for my other client. So we're going to call this, say, client number 2. And we're going to assign this one to Frodo Baggins, and we're going to say that this one is due on the 14th. So now we have 2 workflows assigned to 2 different people for 2 different clients with 2 different due dates, but they're all based upon this one template. And this is one of the most powerful features of the Flowster software, because here's what's going to happen with your processes. They're going to need to be kept up to date. So let's say, for example, that at some point midweek, next week, or what have you, you decide that you want to edit the template to improve your process in some way, shape, or form. So we'll just go add a fictitious task here. I clicked on new task. I'm going to give it a name. We're going to call it new thingy, just because that sounds really, really cool. And in the new thingy task, we're going to put on a section called a text box. And here is some instructions for the new thingy step, ... If I wanted to, I could also put on an image or a video. And again, we'll cover this in more detail a little later in this video or in a subsequent video. The important thing to understand is you have the opportunity to add all sorts of different types of content onto the content canvas to build out your steps. So an example of that, of course, here we've got this step called send friend requests. You can see that there is a text box here, there's an image here, and for this particular one, then we have another text box and what have you. So here is the really cool thing about how Flowster functions with this relationship between workflows and templates. This button over here, when you're done making your changes to the master template, and it doesn't matter actually if you forget to click this button because Flowster won't let your users work on outdated templates. But if you click this button, Flowster is going to say, hey, you have two active workflows, one for client number 1 and one for client number 2, that are associated with this template. Would you like us to update them based upon the changes to the template? Now, obviously the answer would be yes. But in the instance where you forgot to hit that button, you could then, if you are Smog the Dragon or Frodo who's been assigned this work, you can see here, here's the two workflows that we created. So let's say that I'm Smog the Dragon. I log in to do my work, and Flowster says, hey, wait a minute, the template for this workflow has some recent updates. Would you like to apply them? Yes, I would. So the beauty of this particular feature of our process management software is that it makes it very, very easy for you to ensure that all of your people all around the world are always working from the very latest version of your process without having to have a staff meeting or a Zoom call or what have you to bring everybody up to speed. So now I want to cover a little bit more things about creating a workflow. You'll notice when we created this, we assigned this one to Frodo Baggins. So what that means is that Frodo is the one who is ultimately responsible for making sure that this entire workflow is complete on the 14th. Now, at Frodo's leisure, he might decide, well, this particular step actually should be performed by somebody else on the team, his brother Bilbo. So we're going to say that this one is assigned to Bilbo, and it is going to be due, on the 11th at 9 a.m. Great. Save due date. So now Bilbo has been assigned to this particular task, task number 2. And then, of course, for task 3, 4, 5, I could individually assign these to other users on my team. The other thing that you can do for the entire workflow is it can actually be assigned to multiple people. So if somebody else, like Trent Test, was another manager who was overseeing this process, or for example, in this case that, Frodo was relatively new and Trent Test is Frodo's manager, ultimately both of these folks could be assigned to this workflow. And what that means is they'll both get notifications when the due date is arriving. It'll appear in both of their calendars so that you're doubly ensuring that no work falls through the cracks. So now I want to talk about notifications. So there's several ways that people on your team are going to be notified that work has been assigned to them. The first way is the little bell in the app. You can see here that recently somebody assigned the task send messages in workflow labeled client to Facebook and Instagram lead generation, and that was assigned to me. And you can see that that task here, number 5, was actually assigned to me. I will have also received an email notification that when I click on it would take me directly to this step of the workflow. And then of course the other way is I can look at my calendar and I can see that that particular task has been assigned to me. Once I see that a task has been assigned to me, simply click on it from the calendar view, and I can begin working my way through it, I or whoever the task has been assigned to. So the way the Flowster canvas works is very simple. Over on the left are all of the steps, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, in this case, that you need to work your way through. And as you're working your way through each step, all of the instructions for that step are then going to be over on the right-hand side. Once you have read and completed the instructions, simply you're going to click on the complete task. You can either put a tick in the tick box over here, or you can click this pink button over here and it will move you on to the next step. Now, if you have a question about any step, of course, at any step along the way, you can always @mention somebody else. So in this case, we will @mention Smog and say, please help me with, whatever it is that you want to do. If you want to attach a file to go along with that, maybe the file includes a screenshot of some kind or a third-party document or whatever, go ahead and make a comment, add comment there. And the warning that you're getting here is it's saying one or more tagged users are guests in this division. And I'll cover a little later in this video, I'll define what a guest is. And they are not yet assigned to this workflow or any of its tasks. If you tag them in this comment, they will not be able to open the workflow. Are you sure you want to proceed? In this case, I'm going to say, yes, I want to proceed. I have tagged Smog, so in order for Smog to be able to see it, because Smog is a guest user and guests cannot see workflows that they are not assigned to, I would then need to say, well, I'm going to go and assign this step to Smog, and now, because Smog has been assigned to this step, he's also going to be able to see the comment. Now, this only applies to guests. If the user type was, if Smog was I'll give you an example. Let's go ahead and @mention myself. Another question. Now you'll notice that I'm this little icon here for me. I'm not assigned to this, but yet when I click on add comment, it adds the comment. Now the difference is this: as a member or an administrator, I have access to all of the workflows, whereas a guest, in which case Smog was a guest user, Smog only has access to workflows to which Smog has been assigned. And this is very, very useful because as you are adding more and more guest users to your account, you're not going to want them to see everything. You're only going to want them to see things that they have been assigned to. A use case example of that is perhaps you have a workflow which collects information from a client. Well, you could set up a client as a guest user in your division and then add them to a step on a workflow. They'll get a link, they'll come in, and they'll be able to then add whatever information you're requiring from them into that particular workflow. So once all of the steps of the workflow have been completed, we'll just pretend that we've actually already done all of this work, you'll see that the workflow is now completed and archived in the system. That doesn't mean it's deleted, it means it's archived, and you can in fact search and find archived workflows. If you needed to retrieve a workflow that was archived, over here on the left, simply untick everything, only tick archived, and you'll see there is the workflow that we were just working on right now. You can click on it, you can reopen it, and if need be, you can also unarchive it by clicking this button here, and that will say, Flowster's going to say, are you sure you want to do that? Yes, I do. So now the workflow is still marked as completed, but it's unarchived. And you may have a reason to do this. Just wanted to let you know that the software is capable of doing it. So to build, add, or remove users or members or guests from your account, click on your name here in the upper right, and then click on Account Settings. From here, go into the divisions. Most times you'll have only one division. We have many divisions because we're Flowster and we just have all these reasons for different divisions. And I'll cover what divisions are in a later video. For now, simply let's stay focused on the member types. So you can see here that if you want to add a new member, you can simply click on New Member. So in this case, we'll call it tom.guest, assuming that was his email. gmail.com. And so now you need to choose what type of member they're going to be. An administrator, as the name suggests, has all the powers to do absolutely everything in the app and will use up one of your slots of your paid users in your plan. The next type is a member. A member is someone who has almost as much power as an administrator. The difference being that they typically cannot add or delete other users, add or delete divisions, things that would affect billing in the account. However, what members can do is create templates, edit templates, delete templates, create workflows, and assign workflows to other people on the team or to themselves. And then the final type of user is called a guest. Now, a guest is typically someone who is simply going to be the recipient of work, be it a virtual assistant, a contractor, or maybe even a client. If you're having a client input some information into a workflow, you would create them as a guest. Every level of our plans has unlimited guests for free. So you would go ahead and hit the invite button, and then you'll scroll to the bottom and you'll see that tom.guest@gmail, and I even spelled Gmail wrong, but that's beside the point, is a pending user. If you decide that you want to cancel that invitation, simply click on the X and type the word remove, and then you can remove that member, and that's how you add and delete members in your account. So if you need support or you need questions answered, there's an easy way to do it in the app right here in the very bottom right-hand side of the screen. Simply click on the little chat box and you'll be able to message Flowster support, click on, and the buttons that are here will probably change over time, but you can click on any of these and do searches and get information, submit tickets, chat with support, and so forth. Thank you so much for watching, and we look forward to having you experience all the benefits of Flowster, and please don't be shy about getting in touch with support if you require help.